The views and opinions expressed on My Story Living with Lupus podcast represents each person's individual experience. By listening to this podcast or reading our blog, you agree not to use this podcast or blog as medical advice to treat any medical condition in either yourself or others. As always, consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. My Story Living with Lupus podcast is officially trademarked, all rights reserved. Thank you for joining me for another episode of My Story Living with Lupus podcast. I'm your host, Susan Hendricks, and I'm so glad that you could join me on this Wednesday, September the 22nd, 2021. You guys know that this podcast is open to any and everyone who has a chronic illness. It is just not related to lupus. So it's open to everyone to come in and share your story in which someone else can get some inspiration, or they may not have anyone to talk to and they think that they're the only one that is going through their situation. Well, I'll tell you this, you are not alone. There is individuals out here to assist you and to talk to you regarding what you're going through. Well, today's episode is all about living with MS, and our special guest, Patti Bevilacqua, is here to tell her story and her journey and to provide inspiration to you, allowing you to know you can live life with MS. So, from all the way from the United States to my friends across the bridge, that's right, Canada, get ready to grab your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, and to my listeners late at night, you know I appreciate each and every one. So get ready to grab your favorite glass of wine and come on and listen to an inspirational story of living with MS with Patti Bevilacqua. If you would like to appear on an episode of My Story Living with Lupus, you can contact us at mystorylivingwithlupus@gmail.com. Also visit us on our Instagram page and also our website, My Story Living with Lupus. Today on My Story Living with Lupus, we have a special guest who is also living with a chronic illness, and that chronic illness is MS. And she's here to tell her story of living with this chronic illness and also give you some advice and also tell you how she is thriving in spite of living with MS. Our guest is Patti Bevilacqua. Thank you for joining us, Patti. on to this episode of my story, Living with Lupus.
It is my pleasure, and I want to begin with thanking you for this opportunity to share my story and plant the seeds for people who are living with any chronic illness. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Patti, could you give us some information on how you were diagnosed with what was the symptoms you were having before finding out it was MS?
Sure. Since I was in high school, I always wanted to be a physical education teacher, and I graduated with a degree to teach PE and started my dream job in September 1989. And in February 1990, I woke up one morning with double vision in my right eye. And I lived in a small community, so I was able to get in and see my GP after school. And she looked at it and she said, "You know what, Patti, your optic nerve is inflamed, but I don't really know a lot about this, so I'm going to send you on to somebody who does." And that was instant respect for this doctor. So I went to see the ophthalmologist, and he then referred me for an MRI at the University Hospital. And after the MRI in March 1990, I was diagnosed with MS. So before the end of my first year of teaching PE, I found out I had MS. And 10 years later, I had to leave the only job I ever wanted in my life because of worsening symptoms. And it was hard. It was hard. I still, 31 years later, I still grieve it every day, especially when I drive by a school and I see the kids outside running and playing soccer and all these great things. So it took another 14 years for me to figure out a couple of things. One was during a course I was taking, I told my story, and my classmate said to me, "You know what, Patti? The time has come to let go of your illness story. Let it go. You're living it every day. Let it go. There's nothing you can do about it." And that was a weight lifted that I had been looking for a very long time. And the next thing they told me is, whatever emotions you are feeling because you have MS, don't beat yourself up. You have every right to feel angry, depressed, hollow, full of grief. And that was a permission I was probably looking for. And I didn't really need, but it really, really helped me to move on. So I figured I needed to find a new purpose in my life. And I made a list of things that I like to do and I'm good at. And one thing that I kept coming back to is helping women with MS learn to realize, one, they're not alone. 2, the way you are feeling is valid. 3, your life is not over. And so I created a Facebook group, and I'm engaging with women with MS from all over the world, some newly diagnosed, some are, it's all over the map. Some have very minor symptoms, some have very severe symptoms. And I share my story, and I share a lot of tips about what I do. And one of the big things that I realized is I needed to let go of the negative. And being positive from the very first moment that I wake up serves me a lot better. So in the morning, before my feet touch the floor, I say to myself, I am going to begin today as my best self. And if for whatever reason this doesn't last, I will not give up because there's always tomorrow. and tomorrow brings a new day and new possibilities. So I've created a positive frame of mind, and I've added a way out. If it doesn't last forever, if it only lasts 4 hours, so be it. Quit beating yourself up, Patti, and appreciate what you were able to do. And that positive frame of mind has propelled me to a place where I want to plant that seed and work with other women who have MS. Because if I can do it, and I'm nothing special, if I can do it, you can do it. And I want to be a part of you getting to that place.
You know what? You have me sitting up here smiling. Because the majority of what you stated is how I get up each morning when I'm dealing with lupus. And
it makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
It does. I've told this story before on the podcast. When I'm in a lupus flare and I'm going to the doctor and my legs are hurting me so bad, I could be driving at a stoplight and all of a sudden, I know it's nothing but God, send somebody in front of me in a wheelchair without any legs. And I'll sit in the car and I said, I got it, God. So my legs are not hurting that bad. At least I have 2 legs to walk and I'm not, in a wheelchair. I am so thrilled that you did not let or allow your chronic illness to take control over you and put you in a dark, dark space where you could not snap to and come out of. It's so many people who suffer from chronic illnesses that will go into a dark space and say, oh, I have no hope. It's no hope for me. And you just said what I've been preaching on my podcast. Regardless of what you go through, there's always hope. You can do anything your mind is set to do. Don't let your illness define you or what you want to do. You have to keep going. And I just want to thank you for that inspiration. While you were talking, I was just smiling and saying, she gets it. She gets it.
And I cannot lie, and I will not lie. I did hit that black pit. I did. And it took a bit of support from people that I was working with, that I had just started working with, who, said, you know what, Patti, you have every right to be upset and cry. But, look how young you are, and you have your life ahead of you. You don't want to be in this dark hole forever. And you know what? I didn't. And there was a man that I taught with who is very interested in Indigenous history and beliefs. And one day he said to me, do you know why you have MS? And I said, absolutely not. He said, I'll tell you. You have MS because you were so great in your previous life that the Spirit had to give you something as a challenge this time around. And you know what?
What?
He was right. So I walk around town thinking, I was so great in my previous life that I'm going to do a heck of a job with the challenge that I'm living with in this present life. And it it's a seed that was planted, and whether or not I got to where I am today because of that, you know what? It doesn't matter. All I know is that a positive mindset serves me a heck of a lot better, and everybody around me a heck of a lot better.
Right,
If
right.
if I'm not a negative Nelly.
Right, right. Now, with me for my lupus, I've had
Yes,
people to ask me, well, you're the only one in your family that has it. Did you ever say, why me? I said, no. I said, evidently, it's something that I'm supposed to go through and show others. I said, it's something that God wants me to show others, that you don't let it get you down. You continue to live. And that's the way I perceive it. But oh, this is so great. This is fantastic. It is really.
yeah, you're so right. You know, if I can plant a seed and you can plant a seed, and if there's somebody out there listening who takes that seed and, you know, whether they hold it for a little while or they, you know, try to figure things out or they make a commitment to do one small mindset shift a day, it's not a job. We have helped others, right? And
Right,
that's what it's about.
right, right. Patty, tell the audience, what type of medications are you on for your MS?
Absolutely. So in my first year of teaching, there was a teacher assistant in my class, and she was a vegetarian, and she was very holistic, and she had a very good life. And after I was diagnosed, she told me that she would spend the month of July at the university library and learn everything she could about non-traditional ways to treat MS. And she put together a vitamin protocol that I have followed ever since. And Susan, I have not taken any traditional medicine at all.
Wow. Wow. What?
And, you know, it's just, you know, it's just regular vitamins. I get high quality vitamins, so it tends to be a bit, you know, pricey sometimes. And of course, you know, you can't claim it as a prescription. So because it's not seen, even though it helps me, and it's cheaper than a regular pill, it's still not, you know, recognized by the medical community or Health Canada or whoever else, you know, has to okay the drug. So that has been a real positive thing for me to know that if I'm in Arizona for the winter and I run out of one of my vitamins, I can get it.
Right.
Not so easy if I had a prescription drug from a doctor in Canada. Would I be able to get it? You know, find a doctor who would prescribe that for me in the U.S. when they don't really know me.
Right.
So I am very happy to say that you know, that's the way that I treated it. I don't know if it'll last forever because I don't know where I'm going to be in 10 years.
Right.
But I do know that, you know, I will do what I can to make sure, to ensure or help me, you know, to have a good quality of life. And down the road, if that means a pill, it doesn't mean that I fail, right? It doesn't mean that I'm any less of a person. It's the reality, and I'll accept it and move forward.
That's right. That's right. Now, what is the name of your support group on Facebook?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So the face group is called Women with MS, Living Fearless, Brave, and Bold.
That's Women with MS living fearless, brave, and bold. In your group, what are some of the complications that you find other women have dealing with MS?
Great question. If I were to rank them, I would say the number one that I'm seeing right now in my group are women who have been diagnosed and their support system around them think it's all in their head. That, if you just worked harder or went to bed earlier or, spaced things out a bit, you wouldn't have this. And I mean, that's a huge obstacle to get somebody else to, somebody who doesn't know, right? It can be really tough. I've met a couple of women in the group whose husbands had left when things got worse. I would say another common question is, where am I going to be? How come they don't know what cured MS? How come all these medical breakthroughs are happening and they still know nothing about MS? What am I doing wrong? Am I going to the wrong doctor? Am I missing something? And the other thing is just women who are venting. Their language is foul. And you know what? It doesn't matter because somebody will always make a comment that says, amen, right?
Right.
Vent, lady, vent. Go for it. Don't keep it in. And, it's just a welcome and inviting place. I have over 500 members right now, and a lot of them, all they do is read. But every now and then I'll get a private message. I don't comment a lot in your group, but I read it all the time. And thank you for what you're doing. And that really helps me because it's easy to think, oh, nobody really is paying attention. But they are. And, it's just, I say all the time, it's a group with amazing women with MS, just like you are. And we are MS warrior sisters, united.
Yes. It is difficult because most people I've run into with chronic illness say that it's hard for family members along with some friends to understand what they go through on a daily basis living with a chronic illness, and they have no one to talk to. But you have a group there, a sisterhood, who allows individuals to vent, to discuss what is going on in their life, and getting advice on how to deal with this illness. And I think that is truly great. It really is.
It really is. And I remember a woman approaching me in the grocery store, and she said, I was picking tomatoes, and she said, you have multiple sclerosis. And I said, how do you know? And she said, because I pick tomatoes the same way as you. I don't have a lot of feeling in my hands. It feels like I'm wearing a pair of garden gloves. Oh. Well, you know what?
What?
That hit the nail on the head. I got it.
See there?
Yeah.
See there? Do you ever get people to say to you, oh, you don't look sick?
Oh, my God. You read my mind. When I left teaching, or actually when I was on a medical leave from teaching and I would go grocery shopping, I'd run into parents of students I taught. Oh, why are you in school today? Oh, I'm on a medical leave. Well, why? Oh, I have MS. You're kidding me. You don't look sick. You look so good. and it's an ugly feeling,
Yeah.
and so I just stopped going out, and that leads to that isolation and depression that, becomes a part of your life, because I don't want to have people judge me. I may look very good sitting on a chair, but when I walk around, I look like I'm drunk, right?
Yeah.
So I just, at that time, didn't go very far. I hung around the house, and my husband was a teacher, is a teacher, and so he went to school every day to teach. And what do you do all day when your life was running around with a bunch of kids outside, right? It's a huge change.
What advice would you give the general public if someone says that they have MS? What would you tell somebody who would well, I'll put it this way. How can you educate the general public on not to tell someone you don't look sick? What would you say to someone?
So if someone has MS and just found out they have MS, the first thing I would say to them is, you are not alone. You are not alone at all. You're not the first, and you're not the last. So remember that. And the second thing is, I'm not saying it's easy to change your mindset to look at things differently, but that opportunity exists. If you have somebody in your social circle that doubts you, complains because sometimes you say no to going out for dinner or whatever, that's a hard one to deal with. And I didn't want to run around with a piece of paper handing it to my friends to say, read this and learn about this, right?
Right.
So I eventually got to a place where I would be able to share snippets of my story, and the ones who listened, and the one I learned who my true friends were.
Yes. Yes. Right.
And it the other thing I would say is, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And have I had fallbacks? Absolutely. Have I hit that black hole again? Yeah, I have. But you know what? It's getting lesser and greater time between them. And so I'm just living today and looking forward to tomorrow. And that's about as far as I'm, planning.
That is great. Patti, lastly, tell the listening audience once again how they can get in contact with you on social media.
Okay, I have a Facebook group, and it is titled Women with MS, Living Fearless, Brave, and Bold. And I also have a website, and it is pattikaye.com, and that is PATTIKAYE.com.
All right. I thank you so much for joining us today on My Story Living with Lupus and sharing your very inspirational story. And you are invited back anytime you want to come back, Patti.
Susan, I appreciate it. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I have a strong feeling you and I are like two peas in a pod.
Yes.
And thank you for the invitation. I would love to come back.
Well, you are more than welcome, Patti. Stay on the line with me, Patti, just one moment. Well, it's that time for me to go, but I want to leave you with this. No two stories or journeys are the same for anyone. Within each and every twist, turn, delay, and roadblock in life exists a valuable lesson to be learned. So, it's up to each and every individual to tell his or her story and never allow someone else to do it for you. You never know who you will inspire and give hope to. I'm Susan Hendricks, your host for my story, Living with Lupus podcast. Have a most peaceful, positive, and oh so blessed week. I'll see you next time for another episode.